But today, I'm the greatest of all time. Thank you.
Never stop, I'll get it if I want it. Gotta make to myself a promise. I won't quit, keep going till I got it. I won't give up till I'm on top.
Yo, no, I ain't the type to give up. If I do something, man, I do it till I get what I want. I turn a business out of nothing into something I love. I got a poker face, but honestly, I'm not one to bluff. I flip a switch, never miss, man, I always stay up. Don't let them see you, always have a plan to stay tough. This life ahead of you ain't easy, it was built to be rough. But that's what makes a personality, is tragedy, bruh. So keep your head on your shoulders. Now we ain't out here moving rocks, we out here moving boulders. Now we ain't getting posterized, we out here making posters. And we ain't got nothing to hide, we move forward like soldiers. You better wake up for the pay stub, or you'll pay up. Don't make love to the game, bruh, fuck the game up. Change up, rearrange stuff to your greatness. Famous for the way up, play the game, bruh.
Never stop, I'll get it if I want it. Gotta make to myself a promise. I won't quit, keep going till I got it. I won't give up till I'm on top, yeah.
You know I'm always honest, there ain't no way I'll ever stop it.
I won't quit, keep going till I got it. I won't give up till I'm on top,
I'm always flirting with pain, she like to hurt me and maim. I'm always working to change, but she's still lurking the same. I keep on building a dynasty while the haters be trying me, but they hate from inside.
All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Unscripted here on the Elite Sports and Entertainment Network. I'm your host and producer this afternoon, Logan Landers, and joining me as always, talk about all things NBA going on in this crazy world today, my guy, Jay McLovin. Jay, what's going on, man?
I'm doing well, my brother. Doing well. Got some floaties on and surviving this storm-like weather. But other than that, man, we are doing great.
Glad you're doing good and surviving the weather out there in Texas, where we always hear of it as a dry state. But here lately, definitely not so much. So hope you're good. Hope stays that way, and hope rest of everyone out there in Texas stays safe. And like I said, got a basement. There's a lot of tornadoes going on. Just get away from windows. Get away from doors.
Yeah.
Just stay safe. Stay safe. All right. Well, guys, before we get into it today, if you enjoyed the episode, please be sure to give us a like, follow, share, and subscribe on all of the following social medias you see here on the screen: Facebook, X, TikTok, YouTube, and Twitch. And also, we are on LinkedIn as well. So go over there, connect with us, say hi, say what's up. And if you want to come maybe be a part of the network, best way to do so is we prefer LinkedIn, but we also accept all the other social medias as well. Just shoot us a message, and we'll get back in touch with you as soon as we can. All right, Jay, just general talk today. General just hanging out and talking about the NBA. We're going to be talking more so a focus on the teams that have currently been eliminated from postseason contention at the time of this recording. And let's talk about the team that a lot of fans, a lot of people were saying prior to the season had a chance to win it all. And Jay, that is a team out west in Phoenix known as the Suns. A team who, when you look at them as a team in general, they finished the year as a 6th seed, 49-33 overall. And as we know, a very tough Western Conference the whole year. Come to the playoffs, though, and they were bounced by the Minnesota Timberwolves. And Jay, not only were they kicked out of the playoffs, not only were they defeated in the playoffs, but they were swept in said playoffs. Did not win a single game. Final score in those games was 122-116, 126-109, 105-93, and 120-95. Now, Jay, I'm going to open this up, and then we can just go into whatever. I noticed a trend there. In 3 of the 4 games, the Minnesota Timberwolves, which is a very good offensive team, scored 120 points or more.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I look at Phoenix, a team who was built on offense, right, with Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, the main 3, they only scored over 110 points once in those 4 games. And they were held under 100 points twice. So when you look at that series and when you look at this team as a whole in their first year, I mean, whenever the trade in the offseason happened for Bradley Beal, we thought, okay, this is a good team on paper. But Jay, I remember it was me and you. We were talking. We said, that's great. But who's on their bench?
Exactly.
And I think ultimately that was the downfall of this team. Who's on the bench? Who was there to help you out when your team wasn't playing well? And when I look at game 4, because game 4 is pivotal, Kevin Durant, second to top scorer, 33 points, 12 of 17 shooting in 46 minutes. That's a good night. Take it what you can. That's a good night for him. Devin Booker, 13 of 21 shooting, 49 points. But Jay, what I don't understand about this team, they only played 3 guys on the bench.
Yeah.
3 guys on the bench in that game, in game 4.
Yeah.
Let me go back to game 3 here, and we'll see how many guys played in game 3 of this series. So in game 3, looking at the box score, you saw Kevin Durant put 25. You had Bradley Beal get 28, Booker get 23. But they had, 6 guys play off the bench. And aging Eric Gordon played 34 minutes. I mean, look, we know this team isn't great defensively. But when you look at this team as a team and the defense, I mean, your team consists of just Kevin Durant, Royce O'Neal, Yusuf Nurkic, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker. That's not a bad starting 5 right there. That's a team that's expected to make the playoffs, probably get past round 1, you would think. Not the case. But the bench, man, my gosh. Drew Eubanks, Josh Okogie, Nasir Little, David Roddy, Bol, and Eric Gordon. You also have Thad Young and Isaiah Thomas, who didn't play much at all. I mean, I don't see any real spark on defense or as a 6-man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my thing about this whole thing is, they came out in game 1. Minnesota did. They came out in game 1 and just put a butt whooping on them, right? 120 to 95. And the only one that got into double points on the bench was Royce O'Neal. And everybody else was, nothing. And they really didn't play that many minutes. If you look at the only one that got true minutes was Royce O'Neal. If you look at the rest of their bench, they were literally 8 minutes or less. And that's telling me that means you got all of your starters, with the exception of one. You got all the starters on the floor damn near the whole game. And, you can't win like that. If you don't have a bench to come in and pick up the slack when the starters are getting tired, you're not going anywhere. And that's exactly what happened here. From game 1 to game 4, 0 bench, all on them. And sometimes, and let's be honest, Kevin Durant ain't no damn defensive guy. That's just
he's not
what it is.
Kevin Durant isn't a defensive guy. Bradley Beal isn't a defensive guy.
Yeah.
And Devin Booker, we know, isn't a defensive guy. And the main thing, too, Jay, you brought up a good point. They only played, 3 bench players, 3 to 5, just kind of depends on the game.
Yeah.
But it's not like those guys are young either. And you mentioned it, you're replacing the old guard, we'll say, in a sense, because Durant's in his late 30s. Beal's in his 30s. I think Booker might be his late 20s. He's been in the league for so long, but he got drafted so young. But you got to give those guys a break.
Oh, yeah.
I understand these are your star players. You want them to play all these minutes. But my God, Jay, no wonder they're going to be gassed out. I mean, we know that all of those guys have dealt with injuries before. Durant, we know his legs, his ankles, his Achilles, they've been banged up. Beal was out for quite some time. Booker's been relatively healthy for the most part, but still, you got to get some support.
Yeah, it even all the way up to let's just look at the last game, that game 4, where they where Phoenix looked like they had a chance.
They had a chance. They probably should have won that game. Let's be honest. They had the chance. That was their best chance.
Yes, and here's my problem. Royce O'Neal went 2 for 7 in 37 minutes. Bradley Beal, the one of the big guys, your big stars, went 4 of 13. And then you got Eric Gordon off the bench who went 2 for 7. You only used 3 bench players this game. There's a problem there. The problem I have with this team, honestly, Logan, is there's not a junkyard dog on this team. There's not a back in my day it was Mario Ellie. He was the original junkyard dog for the Houston Rockets. But then you had what was the guy for Phoenix Suns, Logan? That was a real nasty guy, but he was real fearless. Had the dreadlocks, came off the bench sometimes.
Oh man.
You know what I'm talking about?
2000s. You playing 2000s?
Yeah, it was pretty. My point is, man, you got to have a guy on your team that can be a bully. That can be. There's no fight. There's no toughness to the Suns team. There is zero toughness to the Phoenix Suns, and they get, and that's why they got swept. That's why they got like a rag doll, right?
Yeah.
That's the problem with them. They have no tenacity.
And then when you just look at matchups, right? When you look at Minnesota, I mean, Karl Anthony Towns, we know he's not a huge guy who's going to go up and punch someone in the face. Gobert kind of depends on the day, right? But Jay, one guy to look out for. If there's a fight that breaks out, this dude's going to be throwing haymakers, and that's the young guy in Anthony Edwards. You can tell he is going to go in there and bust some heads open if his team's down. Yeah. And that's what you like to see. And we see that in his style of play, he's aggressive, he's fast. There's a reason he scored all those points, that he was the top scorer throughout the entire series. And he was effective. Yes. And to be fair, right, in Game 4, Minnesota only played 3 players off the bench. Kyle Anderson, Naz Reid, who was a Sixth Man of the Year candidate, I believe, and then Nikhil Walker-Alexander. But they were up, Jay, 3-0 in that series. You didn't have to play all your guys off the bench if you didn't want to.
Right.
You didn't have to. They were going in there to close out the series and to sweep them, which is exactly what they did. Phoenix was gassed. They were trying to get out there and survive. Jay, that's what I would have put in the, Durant and Beal especially. Booker, you could keep out there longer. He's younger. That's when I'd put them in there for a certain amount of times, take them out for short rest, right? And then put them back in. That way you don't have them be tired, but you keep them fresh. You keep their legs fresh. You keep their adrenaline up. You keep their stamina good. Because, my God, they played so many minutes. Kevin Durant is the oldest player on this team, and he played 46 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
He played 46 minutes.
Right? But that's the thing, right? Even if you look at Game 4, so Game 1, they got slapped in the face and had no answer for it. Game 3, they got slapped in the face at 126-109 and had no answer for it. Mm-hmm. So at some point, this team, it's like getting slapped in the face, and then you just don't even care. Like they don't even care. Mm-hmm. Too many star power, and that's the thing, Logan. Sometimes your team can look so great on paper, right? That starting 5 just looks amazing, but it doesn't. But there's a lot of things in that starting 5 that you're missing. You're missing toughness. You're missing defense, and in some cases, you're missing that clutch factor, right? Bradley Beal every one of them has had an off night, and you can't have an off night when you're going up against the Minnesota Timberwolves. And I just don't think that this specific group, even though there are 3 superstars, they don't have all the intangibles. And sometimes you don't need superstars. What you need is maybe 1 or 2 superstars and a lot of role players that know their positions. You need a guy. You need a Dennis Rodman on your team. You need a Steph Curry on your team. You need a Giannis on your team. And I am saying high pro for people, but there are other people in the leagues that can do those types of things. You know what I'm saying? And
that's why I like Minnesota so much as a team. Because Jay, they are a complete team.
Complete.
Because you have Anthony Edwards, who's a pure scorer. I mean, my God, he can do whatever you need him to. You have Rudy Gobert, who's going to get you 10, 15 points, but pull down 15 rebounds and be that guy in the middle and down the paint to stuff you at the rim, that pure defensive guy. You got Karl Anthony Towns, who's a good two-way player. He can score and he can play defense. And then you've got all the other pieces, Naz Reid, Kyle Anderson, as I just mentioned. Those are the good role players that you need to get you a championship, which is why Minnesota is one of the best teams in this league, which is why they came into the playoffs at 56-26, and they were so well regarded. And that's why they were one of the best teams in the NBA, let alone just in their conference. That's why they came into this as a 3 seed, but they were a 1 seed for quite some time. And if maybe a couple of games had went differently, they would have been that 1 seed if Denver and OKC maybe have let up a little bit. Like I said, there's only a 1 game difference between those 3. So shifting back to Phoenix here, a lot of people have been saying to blow it up, but I don't think they can, Jay. And I say that because, Jay, what happened with this team in Phoenix after they went to the finals a couple of seasons ago? They blew it up.
Yeah.
They got rid of DeAndre Ayton, and they got rid of Chris Paul, the other 2 guys there for your big 3, right?
Right.
And they said, okay, let's regroup. And they got Bradley Beal, who we know that his time in Washington, it came to an end. He was looking forward to get out of there. I mean, look, rightfully so, Washington ain't doing nothing. And they're not going to do nothing for a while. So, credit to him, he got out of there. However, that contract, Jay, is probably the worst contract in the NBA right now. Right. He's 30 years old. He's 30. Durant's 35 going on 36, by the way. I just learned that. So Durant's only got 2-3 years left. I mean, LeBron's 38. LeBron's 38. But you could argue that LeBron's healthy in a way.
Yeah, you're right. And I'm going to put out one more thing real quick.
Go ahead.
Just to kind of give you, just kind of drive this point home about not having a bench and how it affects you. When you look at I'm going back to game 3 where they lost 126-109. If you look at Minnesota, they were only shooting 38% from the field. And then you look
from the field, not from 3, from the field.
Yeah, exactly. And then when you look at the Phoenix Suns, for their field goal percentage was 39, but yet they couldn't hit the win. And the reason why they couldn't get the win is because you have 3 guys that are put up the points, right? You had Durant at 25 points, you had Beal at 28 points, and then you had Booker at 23. But then, and I will give you 11 points if you want to count that, 11 points from Eric Gordon off the bench. But that's it. Everybody else damn near 0. And that's the problem. You got 3 guys, even with those 3 superstars, but because they cost so much money that you can't build a bench or anything else behind that, even if those 3 guys have monster games, you still come away with the L. And that's the problem with the Phoenix Suns. They are not deep. They are a very, very shallow offensively team that plays 0 defense.
And when you look through history at teams who've had the quote unquote big 3 since it was coined back in the 2010s.
Right.
Obviously, you look at LeBron with the Heat, right? They got a couple championships. That you could say it worked. Golden State, obviously, with Durant on it, coincidentally, with him, Clay, and Steph all in their primes. That was disgusting. They should have won 2 titles, or they should have won more if LeBron had been there for that 1 year. Right. And then you look at the teams, Jay. We and you were always going to laugh at Brooklyn, and you can't help. But man, their big 3 of Kyrie, Durant, and James Harden lasted. I think they played less than like 50 or 60 games together in multiple seasons. That's the worst one. That's the worst one. And then there have been a lot of other iterations, but my point I'm trying to make here is the teams that have had multiple superstars, 3 superstars, we'll just say, they've always had a deep bench. And I look at Golden State because Golden State, I think, is the prime example. Obviously, they had the most wins in a regular season ever. You had 3 tremendous scorers. You had guys who were veterans in Sean Livingston. You had guys like Zaza Pachulia and Mo Spates and some other guys who were helping out there who were good bench players. You have to be a complete team. It can't just be a team of 3 in this team game of basketball. Now, let's go back here. People were saying, Phoenix, blow it up. I say you can't, Jay, because, my God, Bradley Beal's contract alone is going to kill this team. And the reason why they're not going to be able to trade him or cut him. And I say that because when you look at his salary for this season, 2023-2024, he's getting paid $46.74 million. Next season, 24-25, Jay, that bumps up to $50 million, $50.2 million. That equates for 35.6% of your cap. Then we go to 25-26. That goes up to $53.6 million, which is 34% of their cap. And then finally, the player option year, which he would be really crazy not to take it, in 26, 27, Jay, he is making $57.1 million. And he's only going to get older. I said it because he's 30 now. We don't know if the play is going to sustain. We don't know. We can't predict that. But you can't trade this contract. No one can take it unless he negotiates a contract. Unless he reworks his deal, no one's gonna be able to take this. Durant, you're paying him a boatload of money. Booker, you're paying him a boatload of money as well. In a sense, you're stuck with them, and it's just going to be a revolving door of bench pieces.
Yeah, and that's really what it is. Because there are such big contracts, you're really going to do one or two things as an owner. You're either going to trade one of them guys, which I would say probably Durant. If you're going to trade any one of them, I would trade Durant. And you're going to have to eat it now, and then go and then use that money, or rebuild with some other bench pieces. Right. But like you said, I don't think they can do that because I think because of the NBA cap, that's gonna alone prevent them. I think you look for trades, but that takes away that. But if you can't find a trade, which I don't think you're going to, then you're like you said, you're stuck with them until the contracts run out. And so this may be Phoenix's purgatory until they get out from under this, and hopefully the ownership learn not to give 3 big contracts
at once
and waste most of your money. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. But let's shift gears now because we got to talk about it. It just happened. The Patrick Beverley situation. So after the Milwaukee Bucks were eliminated from the playoffs by the Indiana Pacers, Patrick Beverley was Jay, he made a fool of himself in 2 instances. The first one was you see a video of him tossing a ball to a fan in a passive-aggressive way. The fan tosses it back. I'm not sure what was going on there. There's no transcript or anything that I've seen at this time. But then Beverley gets the ball, and then like a Nolan Ryan fastball, he rifles it at someone and goes right in between a woman and a man. It hit one of them. It didn't knock them back or anything like that, but still, you're firing a ball maybe 10, 15 feet away. And most importantly, though, Jay, you're throwing it into the stands and hitting fans, which is a big no-no. And then after the game, her name slips me at the moment, but a very well-known reporter for ESPN, she's been on the job for over 30 years, I believe, was trying to get comments from Patrick Beverley, as you do, as reporters do. And he said, "Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. Do you subscribe to my podcast?" And she said, "No," because why would she expect that question? "No, I do not." And he said, "Oh, okay, I only talk to people who subscribe to my podcast." just not a good look for Patrick. And then obviously he released a statement saying that I have to be better. I apologize. Traditional just PR fluff piece stuff.
Yeah, because he didn't mean that. He didn't mean it then. He sure as heck didn't mean it now. But he's got to say that to try to politically appease the NBA. But come on, man. Look, number one, I ain't gonna lie to you, Logan. For the money they pay for those damn seats, if the ball came my way and I caught that son of a gun, I would not keep it back. I'm taking it home. That's gonna be my personal basketball because I feel like I paid for it. But secondly, and I said this before, if you're going to throw the ball at somebody and it hits a woman, whether you meant to or not, that's a game changer. That's a no-go for me. That's a deal breaker. I mean, you just can't be hitting women, whether you meant to or not. You can't hit women, man. That's just a no-go. And same on Patrick Beverley saying he's got to do better. Okay, you can say it all you want, but were you really doing it? No. And he's never done it since he's been in the league. He went to Houston Rockets. All the way back to those days. Patrick Beverley, I'm disappointed in you, gravely disappointed in you. And I will tell you this, if it was up to me, if I was a commissioner, you'd be banned. Done. Game over.
Yeah, obviously he is.
You suck.
Yeah, he is going to be getting, I believe, probably obviously a very hefty fine. And 9 times out of 10, I would hope for Adam Silver's sake, a suspension. I would say probably anywhere in the ballpark, 10 to 15, but could be more. just depending on how harsh they want to go with this.
And here's the deal with that. This isn't the first time where players have had negative interaction with fans. I mean, you go all the way back in the days of Ron Artest with the Pacers, and you know what that led to, that melee that it led to.
Right,
At
and even you can go back and back.
Yes, at some point the NBA has to. They need to do one or two things. Either A, don't have the fans up and that close and personal with the players, which that's not going to happen because they're not going to lose that revenue. Or B, they need to start levying out some serious fines and suspensions on these players that want to do things to the fans in a negative way. You have to. The only way you're going to hurt somebody is in a pocketbook, but you can't give them so small fine because those rich people, they don't care about small fines. Whatever. And they'll keep doing what they do. You got to do something severely impactful to really make a dent if you want to start really correcting the problem, because you're not going to put fans back. So the only thing you could do is correct the players, but the players don't care as long as it's not really affecting them too much on the financial side. So you really got to start affecting these guys. I mean, if you're going to pay these guys millions and millions and millions of hundreds of millions of dollars, well, then you need to start fining their asses 20, 30 million and start waking them up to what really needs to be done in the NBA.
So I saw that Melinda Andrews, that's the reporter's name, that she said that Patrick and the Milwaukee Bucks franchise called her and apologized, which, as they should, that's what you need to do.
Should. That's disrespectful.
They should, but that shouldn't have happened in the first place. So we'll see what happens, obviously, whenever that fine and / suspension does take place. All right, just since we got a couple minutes here, let's talk about some teams that have been knocked out of the playoffs, Jay. Obviously, we just talked about Milwaukee. They've been banged up, so I wasn't super surprised to see them get out. Miami, Jimmy Butler, once again, he's been hurt, so I wasn't really super surprised by that. But the one team, though, Jay, that a lot of people thought might have a chance to go deep, but they got knocked out also. Pags, I'm sorry. Philadelphia 76ers, see you later. And Jay, am I crazy to say that Tyrese Maxey was the best player for the Sixers during that series?
Yeah, absolutely. I think bar none, Tyrese Maxey was the best player in that series. And let me ask you this. This is a guy that you gave the NBA MVP to. Not even but a year ago you gave him the MVP. And has he still done anything? No. So for all those people that think the Embiid is better than Joker, or thinks that he should have got it more than Joker, man, y'all ain't watching the game of basketball, because Joker's hands down, bar none, killing the crap out of Embiid every damn year. Every year.
Yeah. And I mean,
you got to prove it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, when you look at the box scores, obviously in the final game of the series, Maxey had a down game, and Embiid had a good game. But I think just as a unit, obviously I could honestly, Jay, I'll have to look it up later, but I honestly think that if things start going down for Minnesota or for Philadelphia, I mean, you could trade Tyrese Maxey for some money. You could trade him for some good players, because Jay, is it too far of a reach to say that he's kind of having that moment that Jalen Brunson had a couple of years ago with Dallas?
Oh, absolutely.
Where he kind of came alive and kind of really made a scene and said, "Oh, hey, check out this guy." And obviously, we know that Dallas got rid of him for nothing, which, whew, if they had him now, that would be dangerous.
We talked about that. And Dallas is regretting that every single day of the week. And I think Philadelphia would obviously do that as well. And Embiid and they had to develop continuity. And Maxey is, I think, the continuity for Embiid.
That's the 1-2 combo.
Find the other right players.
Yep, that's the 1-2 punch right there. But I know if you check out her Twitter, there was a tweet there that after the 76ers lost that our account put out and said, "Hey, it's like, is this still a part of the process that they've been asking about for years, Jay? We all know the trust the process where they were getting all those draft picks. Or is this still part of it, losing in the first round?" That's another topic for another day, I think. We'll take a deep dive at that. Kind of like how we did the Phoenix Suns today. Of course, talking about Patrick Beverley, and then looking at a couple of teams that have been knocked out at the time of this recording. As we know, the playoffs are still underway. And guys, of course, if you want to check out all the live coverage, all of us talking about the playoffs and everything else in the world of sports, you can do so on our social media platforms, on Facebook, X, YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, and also on LinkedIn. For Jay McLovin, I've been your host and producer this afternoon, Logan Landers. Guys, go watch some basketball, and we'll talk to y'all on another live episode.